through almost 50 games now, do you know either way if this team has enough talent to compete like at a playoff level?
Oh, we do. I think we've shown that, but we've also shown that we don't have enough to separate ourselves from the rest of the West. And so I think the point is, we're not in a position where we can just say, no, we're good. Let's stand pat. That's the reality of where we are. So Mike's doing his due diligence, doing his job. If there's something that makes sense, he's going to do it. And if not, then I'm very comfortable going forward with this team because I know what we're capable of, and I believe in the guys. And we'll.
That was probably the most aggressive I've heard Steve when asked about potential trades during his tenure as a Warriors coach. Now, at the end, he covered himself, right, as he always is going to keep it PC and understanding he's got to live with the roster no matter what it is, but they're no longer in a position to stand pat. No, those comments were before the Suns smacked us around at home for the fourth time this year. They've and we'll talk about that here, but big picture, I think that's the focus. And that's really, I think, the storyline last night. We, the fan base, right? That was an easier pill to swallow last night because we're all focused on Thursday in this trade deadline and what's next. What's the team going to look like moving forward? And I think you saw that with the team last night against the Suns, in particular Steph Curry. Now, trade rumors happen for every team at this time of the year, every season. I get it. But the Warriors, right? This just sounds like it has more legs, more tentacles, whatever phrase you want to use. And it seems like the writing's on the wall. A move is going to be made, and probably a significant one, right? That's what all directions point that way. And so perhaps Steph kind of moping around last night is in part because GP2, Looney, some of these guys that he's so close with, he knows are probably not going to be around past next Thursday. But the other conversation was like, get Steph involved. What do you have, like one shot in the first quarter? And it is a chicken or egg kind of thing a lot of the time with Steph in the offense where, hey, to me, like I turned on the tape this morning for the breakdown, which unfortunately I got to do because I'm covering every Warrior game. He looked lethargic from the start again, and thinking about just the context of where the season's at. He didn't look like he wanted to play, but at the same time, can you beat a high-powered Suns offense without getting Steph going? And a big part of that is Draymond, right? And I've been guilty in the past. I think a lot of us have. It gets frustrating, particularly in these fourth quarter losses that we've had where Draymond maybe over force feeds Steph the ball when you've got other players going, right? But it's nights like last night where you miss Draymond force feeding Steph the ball and getting him more shots. At the same time, if you're Wiggins, if you're Schroeder, if you're these other guys and you see Steph hanging his head and you're picking up on the vibes that he's just doesn't really want to hoop tonight, what are you supposed to just keep looking for him? You got to play ball. You got to try to do other things, right? And so again, it's kind of a chicken or egg thing. I think ultimately, listen, you watch KD last night, who he didn't look like a spring chicken himself, right? He eventually got going there and made some shots, but when you look at the twilight of the big three, Steph, LeBron, and KD, it's so obvious how much easier it is for LeBron and KD to still get to their spots and get their shots, right? And I think if you want to get real like Hooper talk, basketball talk with it, Steph no longer can really finish downhill, which is, look, 6'2". He was never like some vertical freaky athlete, right? But at 6'2", he's trying to protect his body, the thumb. He doesn't want to take any bad falls. And so you're seeing him live with these really difficult, like scooping layups, right? And so the fact that he's not really finishing downhill anymore, it's making the defense even more aggressive, selling out at the three-point line on him. And then you look at the whole roster, right? I think we're all seen that stat that's going around of we're the worst finishing team in the league at the basket. Now, you understand Steph's not going to finish that well. Pods, Buddy, like some of these guards, you understand that. It's really the bigs' inability to finish that tilts that to us being the last place team in at the rim, right? Trace, Looney, post, you see, he doesn't have any vertical pop, right? So, it is what it is. And like I said in the breakdown, I'm not as worked up about it because I think we're all waiting to see. All it does is really encourage a loss like that. I think all it does is encourage Mike Dunleavy, Joe Lacob, and this team to push that button come Thursday, right? So what is that move that they're going to make? Now, I've sat here for a month and said, I don't want any part of Jimmy Butler. I don't like his personality. And you've heard Steph and Steve, it's been reported, are wary of his fit in the locker room. Yeah, I think every team should be at this point, right? However, if they were to get desperate enough to make that deal work, what I would say is, one, you're probably going to get a crazy honeymoon phase from Jimmy, being it that he wants an extension and just a F you to Pat Riley in the Heat. You're going to get the best of Jimmy, at least for the rest of this season, right? And as old as he is and the durability issues, it's not going to be a Zion thing or an Embiid thing where you're like, dude, he's not doing what he's supposed to do to prolong his career and take care of his body. We know he's going to do that, right? It's just playing style and if his body's going to hold up, right? And so, I get some of you can talk yourselves into Jimmy. Like someone had tweeted me, hey, Jimmy's averaging just as many points as Wiggins and he's not even trying. And it's like, bro, there's so much more to the context of the situation than just 20 points per game, right? There's so much more: durability, fit, contract, value, locker room, right? And so you guys know how I feel about Jimmy. And if that is the move, hey, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to cover it. I'll put it to you like this. I'm not going to hate on Jimmy if we acquire him just to try to be right, like say that we shouldn't have got him. I'll objectively cover it and root for him because now he's part of the squad. So if that's what happens, then okay, I'll welcome Jimmy to the squad and hope for the best. Zach LaVine is a much better option. I think most of us understand that, right? And the trick is, how do you get him without giving up Wiggins? You saw Wiggins on social media. That's very un-Wiggins-like, right? I mean, to kind of troll us and put a picture of him and LaVine, the bounce bros back in Minnesota, right? But yeah, can you get him? Can it be, how big of a deal can it be? Can you get him and Vucevic? Out of sight, out of mind. I've long said I don't think that there's a player out there right now that's worth giving up Kuminga. If I were have to choose right now, if you're getting LaVine, then it makes more sense to give up Kuminga than Wiggins. And again, the numbers that can 3-4 team deals, all this stuff, I don't know how it works, but if you could bring back LaVine and Vooch and maintain the core guys, then yeah, I'm interested. I'm intrigued. And again, I think we all sit here and wait for this deadline. And so we got Orlando Monday, got a couple more games for it. Hopefully they can bounce back, and we know how important each win is at this point. But I expect a distracted Steph Curry and a distracted roster until the dust settles on Thursday's trade deadline. It's only human nature. Now, that's been the focus, right? LaVine or Butler or these big splashy moves. I'll give you two more names that I've heard be made available that I'm interested in, and maybe it'd be more towards the future. But Ben Mathurin apparently could be made available for the Pacers. I know you're going to say Miles Turner, right? But that would be an interesting two-guard, a guy that can create his own shot, fits the dog mentality that they're trying to build, right? And then Bogdan Bogdanovic. Which one is the Bogdanovic in Atlanta? The one that plays for the Serbian team that almost beat us in the Olympics, right? Now, he has durability issues, but those are two names, two guards that I wouldn't be surprised if the Warriors were in on somehow. So, that's how it works. We hear names leading up into the deadline, and then a lot of the time you're like, whoa, I didn't see that one coming. But I think what we understand is something is coming for this Warriors roster. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.